There are many aspects to the character of the Cape Breton fiddler that give him a universal appeal and charm. Perhaps not the least of these is the story of the origins of an individual's violin. Now let me explain. If you take a guitar or a banjo or a flute or any musical instrument that you want and trace the history of that instrument, you'll probably find that it has a very bland and uninteresting background. But the history of a Cape Breton fiddler's violin is more often than not a story in itself.
This violin I got now, there was a Frenchman formerly from Quebec, working at Fiddlers Corporation, Canada, Windsor, Ontario, working with me on the line, who mentioned one night that he had a fiddle in a closet and a guitar that his uncle took from Texas in the closet for 30 years. That he'd sell me either one of them. Well, I wasn't interested in the guitar. I said, I'll buy you the violin. I'll buy the violin from you. And you say, since he was working the same shift with me, he called with the violin. I gave him $20. I took that violin over to Wunderlich, a professional violin maker, an expert of violins over Detroit, and he looked inside of it and he said that that's where his grandfather was born, at the castle, Bremerfield, Germany, and it's handmade, and there was only 5 of them made. So when he strung it up and he played in this Scandinavian orchestra. He's a violinist. He tried this hard stuff on it, the arpeggio. He said, you got a $1,000 violin there. Take care of it.
If it can be said that there's such thing as a guru of Cape Breton fiddle music, then you've just met him. His name is Dan Rory MacDonald. Most folks just call him Dan R. And he lives in Mabou, just a few miles from all this rugged beauty. Dan R. is a kind man with a heart as big as all outdoors and a universally respected ability to write music. We visited Dan R. in his studio in Mabou to find out what was involved in composing a fiddle tune.
Well, it comes to you like a dream, you know. You can think up anything at the middle of the night or whatever time of day it is by whistling. And you go and you put that together and you make sure that it's an original, that it's don't look like anything that was composed in Neil Gow's time or William Marshall or Skinner. You got to keep away from all that stuff.
So how many tunes could a guy like Dan R. compose in his lifetime?
Oh, I guess roughly about the old manuscript, and when I'd done from the 30s, it was pretty handy 2,000 anyway.
And what happens to the tunes that he writes?
Well, I got it in manuscript and I give them to my friends, Buddy McMaster and Don Langus, and anyone who wants them.
Dan R. has seen and heard many fiddlers over the years. He talks about a few of his favorites now.
Well, Little Jack was one of my favorites. He's dead now. He died about 2 years ago. And Sandy McLean, which has played in Glendale at a concert, which was very good. He's up in his 70s. And other players like Dan J. Campbell, Glenora Falls, a good player.
And the man he thought was the greatest of them all.
Well, I suppose I'd have to say Big Ronald McClellan. Tristan McClellan's father was the best I ever heard. Of course, I could not read music then, and but he sounded awful good to me. He raised the hair off my head. He was that good.
Big Ronald McClellan, incidentally, was a legend in Cape Breton. He was a giant of a man, 6 feet 6 inches tall, and a blacksmith by trade. He had huge hands and large, powerful arms, and he could bend a horseshoe into a figure 8 with little or no effort. But if you put a violin in those same huge hands, Big Ronald could coax out a melody as sweet as any ever heard amongst the hills of Cape Breton. But that was the past, and our concern is with the future. Fiddling, like any other art or tradition, if it's going to live on, it has to be carried on by young people like John Morris Rankin.
I've been playing the fiddle for 3 years. I'm 12. Well, I play the piano, and I just pick up the guitar and the recorder and the ukulele, and I have a set of drums upstairs. I learn here. Just picked it up by myself.